planet. Each planet has a specific influence in astrology and governs a certain area of your personality or your approach to life. Now, Saturn is the planet of responsibility with accountability. It symbolizes the ethic of hard work, or as we say, karma, accumulated through our actions. Now, during the influence of Saturn, character is strengthened through trials and tribulations. It has been said that Saturn disciplines us until we learn self-discipline. So this planet is known as the celestial taskmaster, for it teaches us lessons we must learn in life. In the grand discipline of the universal intelligence, Saturn does not give us more than we can handle. So rest assured, whenever problems come in our life, it is the universal intelligence telling us that I am giving you this because I know you can handle it. So you must remember that. So its influence helps us understand our strength while endeavoring to overcome obstacles and difficulties. So the efforts that we put in to achieve our goals builds our character, and the lessons learned serve us for the rest of our life. So Saturn empowers us. Saturn empowers us with endurance and provides us with the tenacity and perseverance to realize our potential. It makes us aware that rewards can only be earned through your grit and determination, teaching us patience in the process. So in order to just sum up what I am apprising you all, it's a planet of resilience, courage, and integrity. Now, this planet is now transiting into its own sign, Aquarius, and enters a retrograde motion today, that is the June 17th, 2023 at 10:48 p.m., affecting the lives of every zodiac native. So when Saturn was in Pisces in its direct motion, the mind remained dreamy, foggy, unclear, and perhaps we behaved irrationally. If you actually look back into your own a couple of, let's say 2-3 months earlier, or even in the recent past, if you remember, sometimes we did behave irrationally, and our perceptions, which are never a reality, we thought that that was the truth and created frustrations for ourselves. Now, whenever the transformational planets are in the retrograde motion, their potency seems to increase, thereby increasing our willpower for accomplishments. So remember, this retrograde time is very potent, very powerful. So to do so, it's important to plan deliberately, strive harder in order to achieve our goals. Normally, whenever a slight obstruction comes, an individual starts fluttering and tends to fear. It's like walking through a gust of wind. We need to force ourselves to move forward. So Saturn serves a fundamental role in our life. That is what I learned and observed in life. And ever since I had learned long back that Saturn serves a very fundamental role, I strived to understand that role. And then I observed in my life also that if I followed the role, the fundamental roles that Saturn dictates, you will always meet with success. You'll never have obstacles. In fact, you'll be able to overcome the obstacles, just that it's a process. And I know it is eventually going to reward me. Now, what is the fundamental role in a life of a Saturn? That is, I'm just sharing them with you. The three fundamentals is the 3 R's, which is the rings, the rules, and responsibilities. So rings is a metaphor for having a structure and indicates our boundaries. We all have limitations in life. We cannot go beyond those limitations. We all have that. This is what our life's limitations are, or the parameters that we have at our disposal, and we need to work around them. So when we start working within our limitations, those rings can keep expanding. So your life also keeps expanding with the success, but you have to work for it. Now, how can you do that expansion within your limitations is when we abide by the rules. So abiding by the rules makes for a well-functioning society. Even if they don't always feel right or feel fair, but follow we must. It's like when we are in school, we have to abide by the rules. When we are staying with our parents as children or as grown-ups, we have to abide by the rules of the individuals whose house we are living in, till we are liberated enough to actually make our own surroundings or our own ring and have our own rules. So sometimes when we are at in the school or in college or at under the parents' dictation, we sometimes don't feel right. We sometimes feel it's not fair, but follow we have to. And trust me, as we grow and evolve in life, we realize that whatever were the rules during our process of life, we may not have felt right, but it eventually paid off. The last R of the fundamentals of Saturn is responsibility. Unless we take personal responsibility, we'll never be empowered, and empowerment always leads to achievement. So we have our limitations, we recognize that, but we know that we can expand our own rings or our own boundaries through the rules that we actually undertake. And once we undertake the rules with responsibility, success is bound to be achieved. So success will be a process when you are following your limitations and you're having your rules intact and you're responsible. So responsibility, if until and unless you take the responsibility or onus of your actions, we will never feel empowered. And when we are empowered, empowerment always leads to achievement. So to be successful, we need to be determined and resilient towards our ambitions without fear or anxiety. I know people say that at times it's very difficult not to be fearful. It's very difficult that not to be anxious. I would say just live the moment of fearfulness and anxiety. But since you're responsible for whatever you're doing in life, you are sure to meet with success. Now, wherever the sign Pisces and Aquarius is positioned in your chart, that particular area of our life is influenced by this planet, reminding us of the rings, the rules, and responsibility. So whichever area or whichever house the Pisces and Aquarius is occupied in your natal chart, that particular where we need to know our limitations, we need to follow the rules, and we need to take the responsibility of either renovating or restructuring. So now in these coming 4.5 months, while the retrograde lasts, we all need to learn and assess our personal limits, ponder over any obstacles that we are facing. So the next 3 months or so should be used to refocus on laying a very strong foundation for your goals and accept the responsibilities of fulfilling them. It could be through your own rules or within the limitations that you have at your disposal. And this all has to be done through the equanimity of your mind. So confront, embrace, and take responsibility of the work which you have been avoiding. Now, when I use the word avoiding, it is that we definitely sometimes get into that lazy part of us. And we definitely at times put things under the carpet. So it's very important for us to confront, embrace, and take responsibility of the work which we have been avoiding in the past couple of months. Saturn wants us to take life in our hands and be personally responsible in order to achieve our goals. So with the planet Saturn in Pisces, it is in the worst place. Actually, Saturn in Pisces is very uncomfortable. It loses its charisma and its essence. because Saturn loves structure and Pisces is more about fantasizing and imagining. So this kind of brings in fear and anxiety to a very different level. Now, actually, the fear and anxiety that you have been experiencing in the past couple of days or months is because Saturn, who loves structure and wants to take an onus of your own life, is actually overpowered by the Pisces, who is all about fantasizing and taking things for granted and always imagining. So that imagination or taking for granted could be your fear, could be your, you could be feeling that, no, these perceptions, your perceptions may not be a reality. So it's like fantasy entwining with reality. So most of us must have been forced to face our fears. We fear branching out or taking risks, whereas actually you should be taking risks and develop greater freedom to exercise whatever you want earnestly. Now, Saturn in Pisces feels responsible, yet guilty for everything that goes wrong. Because Saturn is a responsible planet. And it feels so guilty that I am unable to push people, because when he's direct, he's powerless. He's like gushing through the wind. But once it is retrograde, that is the time it is in full power, it's full potent. So in the last couple of months, you would have felt a lack of reality. One feels a loss of clarity. Truth seems very elusive. The fears, guilt, and unconscious inhibitions normally associated with this planet are partly caused by an inability to discern the reality from illusion. Now, Saturn in Pisces comes after 29.5 years, which according to me is that after every 29 years, Saturn wants us to recognize, connect with the weaker, more irrational parts of our personality, which actually makes the structure of our life weak and unsuccessful. At the cost of repeating myself, I want you all to understand that Saturn in Pisces comes after 29.5 years, which according to me is that after every 29 years, Saturn puts a trigger. Because he wants us to recognize, he wants us to connect with the weaker, more irrational parts of our personality, which actually makes the structure of our life weak and successful. So when you fear and experience frustration, that is the only time will you actively seek ways to overcome the blockages and resolve the associated issues or problems so that life can turn around. It is very advantageous, or it is advantageous to move obliterating fear courageously. You have to just eliminate fear. The faith, the way you have faith when you're praying. When you're praying without faith doesn't materialize, but when you pray with faith, you're basically attracting positive energies to yourself. So you have to obliterate the fear very courageously, because it will not happen on its own. You have to just make up your mind, and probably the best way that you can take out fear or anxiety from your mind is when you can answer that what is it exactly, what's the bottom line, what worse can happen. So you are prepared for the worst, but you hope for the best. That's a faith. So when this planet retrogrades into Aquarius, it once again gives us the opportunities to analyze our behavior and question those actions that have given way to fear, guilt, and anxiety. If you can answer, why am I fearing? Why am I anxiety? Why do I feel guilty? Because fear and anxiety is always laced with guilt. Only if you haven't done your things within the limitations, you haven't followed the rules, and you've not been responsible for your own actions. And when the repercussions come in unexpectedly, that is the time you fear, you are anxious, and it is laced with guilt, which nobody knows, but you know, if you had done a particular thing at a particular time, things wouldn't have been the way they are. So often these negatives are signals that you need to investigate unconscious blockages and make adjustments in the way you live your life and handle difficult issues. Now, Saturn is all about gradual and stable progression. So we are going to be pushed to face our obstacles and level up so we can overcome them for good. Now, Saturn's retrograde into Aquarius ushers in a new astrological happening that can help us change and transform. It is nothing to be afraid of if you are prepared to address your issues and wish to become more stable and secure. Then grab this opportunity to rectify and sift the reality from perception. And this will just affect your life in a very, very significant way. We were made aware of the importance of security and stability. It also made us realize the importance of true leadership based on selflessness. So Aquarius helps us understand the importance of thinking collectively. We feel the need for unity, which is the basis for success. Now that it is going to run retrograde for the next couple of months, it's time to review your career, limitations, and also your personal life. Look into your stability and security with an eye of optimism. Even if situations seem to be slipping through your hands, be secure in the fact that the retrograde is just urging you to restructure and finding ways which will be more conducive to your growth. So basically, Saturn will give you the obstacles, will give you the troubles, but only those that you can handle. So don't have the defeatist attitude, oh God, I can't do this thing. Just remember and have faith. You can handle it. And Saturn is urging you to restructure and find new ways which will be more conducive to your growth. So whenever we renovate or rebuild a house, I'm talking about the house that we live in, it becomes stronger. Similarly, working towards our goals with a strong willpower and resilience will push us towards achieving the equanimity that we seek and aspire. 3 days later, from 20th to 21st of June, the sun moves in Cancer, which is a sign about your personal life and emotions. It is a further indicator of restructuring and resurrecting ourselves, the house that I'm talking about, the house that we live in, the house that we actually feel from the heart. So the first month of Saturn retrograde should be devoted to scrutinizing and re-evaluating the sectors of our life which are most important to us personally and professionally. So we can say from 17 June to 17 July, that's the first month. So you should work on scrutinizing and reevaluating that sector of your life, which is pointed by the sign Aquarius and Pisces in your natal chart. And understand that what is it that brings us the fear and anxiety, and what is it that can eliminate that, and what are the limitations that we need to follow, what are the rules that we need to adopt, and do it with responsibility. Because we now have another chance to internalize the lessons of Saturn and promote a long-term development. So in the month of July, when the sun enters Leo, somewhere near the 20th, 21st, again, it makes a quincunx through the transit Saturn, urging us to make changes and adjustments in our life that can lessen our stress a bit. See, first month, we recognize what is stressing or fearing us, and then we take actions and be responsible for it. Once we make the changes and adjustment, the next month, you can lessen, you will see your stress levels coming down. So when we organize our life and are disciplined, it does become stress-free. We need to make fresh starts from which endings are a must. So the changes can be painful when letting go of something important or ending an important phase in your life. But this period requires the adaptability and adjustments. This can be painful or a joyful experience. If you're in pain, remember that the process of letting go makes room for something new and exciting. Then we come to the month of August, when Saturn squares Uranus, where you need to build your life on a firm foundation with a healthy balance between responsibility and the need for freedom and change, which actually liberate you. So, however, if you've allowed your life to become stuck in tired, rigid routines, this period can be very upsetting. Any area of your life that has become stuck in a rut is open to challenge, and you will find it best to face the challenge by changing old patterns and embracing new and exciting plans. By 4th November, when Saturn goes direct again in Pisces, you will have prepared and restructured your life in a very realistic way. This way, you learn your lessons by overcoming your fear, being less vulnerable, and becoming the strong person you always wanted to be. So this transit of Pisces retrograding back or kicking back into Aquarius just helps you wake up from your dreamy world and become more realistic towards your personal and professional life. So the coming 4 months gives you time to figure out your life and take corrective measures wherever necessary. This can be a time of great accomplishments for those who adapt and adjust to a direction quickly. This helps to move steadily towards achievement. The new goals that you develop will be harbingers of success as your Saturn works in your favor, making you practical and realistic. So working with a group will help you get off the ground and push you towards making your goals a reality. So just in a nutshell, I would say that since this is affecting all the zodiacs, everyone should understand this and work towards your own karmas, I would say. Take actions in the most practical manner and you will never go wrong. So utilize this period as a great period in your life. So thank you for listening, and I am open to all your questions and will be answering them one by one and clearing and demystifying this beautiful planet astrology.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm open to questions.
Yeah. Yeah, so everyone can unmute themselves and they can ask questions, or they can type in the questions in the chat box.
Yeah, got it.
Ma'am, Saturn is transiting from Aquarius right now, right?
Saturn was in Pisces. It is now in Aquarius. When it spins back, it will be in Aquarius.
And after getting it direct, it will again go to Pisces.
Again come to Pisces. So it's actually shuttling between Pisces and Aquarius for the time being.
Oh, I was assuming that it has moved from Capricorn to Aquarius and will remain in Aquarius till 2025.
No, that is direct motion.
Okay.
But
okay.
Now it was in Pisces. It had entered Pisces in March, I think. Am I right about?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it was in March. And then now it is gone back to Aquarius. That is why we all, I mean, if you all are truthful to yourselves and not wearing any mask, you know, it did make us a little dreamy, perceptive, and we had our own illusions.
Okay.
And now when it is in Aquarius, it